This meeting will come to order. This special meeting was called by the mayor of the city of Massillon, Ohio, for the purpose to discuss and possibly pass ordinance number 137, 2019. Roll call.
Creamer. Present. Cunningham. Gregg.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Irwin.
Here.
Lewis. Littman.
Here.
Manson.
Here.
And Starrett.
Here.
Roll call of 8 present.
Councilman Manson.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I make a motion that we excuse Councilwoman Cunningham from tonight's meeting.
Second by Councilman Creamer. Roll call.
Gregg.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Littman.
Yes.
Manson.
Yes.
Starrett.
Yes.
And Creamer.
Yes.
8 yes to excuse Councilwoman Cunningham.
Thank you. And Councilman Cunningham has been excused. We have in attendance with us the following city officials: Mayor Kathy Kazero Perry, Law Director Andrea Scazza, Chief Engineer Jason Popio, Economic Development Director David Bailey, Chief of Police Keith Moser, and Fire Chief Tom DeBusser. At that point on the agenda, where anyone can come forward and speak on any topic that does appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, come forward, state your name, address, and topic you wish to discuss. Seeing none, we'll move into ordinance number 137, 2019.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and the director of public service and safety of the city of Massillon, Ohio, to accept and enter into a contract agreement with the Massillon Fire Association Local 251, effective August 1st, 2018 through July 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Gray.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I'd like to call Chief Burgesser to the microphone.
Good evening, Madam President, Councilman Gregg, members of council. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of negotiations and present you with a finalized settlement contract that was voted on by the union last week. As you know, the contract expired on July 31st, 2018, and we've been negotiating probably half-heartedly for about a year. The city wanted to wait and see what the PD bargaining units were getting as they stepped through the arbitration process. And at the same time, the union was waiting to see what would happen with the hospital. Once those pieces started to fall into place, negotiations heated up a little. Two sides focused on a few issues. Many of those issues were already agreed upon. The city wanted to get some overtime relief by pushing an alternative vacation schedule, which offered days instead of weeks, across to the union, while the union wanted far more in wages than what the city was willing to give. We came close to a settlement, and the deal fell apart, and we went to fact-finding. As you're all well aware, the fact-finder's report wasn't helpful to either side and was rejected. Rejection of the fact-finder's report meant that the process was headed to binding arbitration, and still is unless a settlement is reached. And that means that both sides make their final best offer on each issue, and the arbitrator or conciliator picks one side or the other. There is no mediation. There is no ability to modify offers. It's either the union side or the city side. Based on what the potential last best offers were, neither side really wanted another party to decide these issues. There were two issues really, vacation and wages. With vacation, using the modified vacation schedule as proposed by the union, the city would save about $44,000 a year. The city-one vacation would save around $69,000 a year. With wages, the city proposed the what the PD bargaining units got, and that is compression to 20 years, wage compression to 20 years for 2019 and 2020, compression to 15 years in 2021. Additionally, there was a 2% increase in years 2020 and 2021. The package that the city proposes is about $407,000 over the life of the contract. The union's offer was to immediately compress to 15 years as of August 1st, 2018. and have a 3% raise in 2019, 2020, and 2021. Cost of that package was estimated to be around $785,000 over the life of the contract. The settlement we reached proposes the same wage package as offered by the police bargaining units, which, as I said, compression to 20 years for 2019 and 2020, compression to 15 years in year 2021. Retro only goes back to the first pay in January of this year and not back through August of last year. Additionally, there's a 2% wage increase for 2020 and 2021. Again, cost of the package is around $407,000 of the life of the contract. At the same time, the vacation issue is going to remain the same. So the union doesn't lose anything in terms of leave time, and that was really important to them because they stood to lose a few days of vacation each. The union voted 33-1 to accept that package and asked that we bring this forward as soon as possible so that those people that were able to get a compression could get those back pay issues because it would start January 2019. And the reason for that is because there's a zero in 2019. So those who were not compressed would be receiving no wage increase. By way of wage compression explanation, the calc sheets would reflect a wage compression scale that adds years 4, 7, and 12. And the new wage scale removes years 5, 25, and 30. Also, the auditor asked that we move to 2 digits after the decimal point instead of 4 digits after the decimal point because it really created a lot of spreadsheet problems. So the total amount as of pay 21, which is this pay, for back pay is $106,575.22. And that's based on the compression. Again, that's all part of that $407,000 wage increase over the life of the contract. I've got some of the other issues that we decided we talked about. There were some things that we got into in terms of maintenance agreement because of the change in closed shop union fair share fees, etc. And so we had to change our language in the contract for that. We did have some sick leave issues with respect to we wanted to make sure that the contract said that you are deducted hour for hour if you go home sick, and also reflected the possibility that we may have fire inspectors that go to 10-hour days instead of 8-hour days. So we changed a little bit of language there. There were a couple of ancillary other issues, but that it really boiled down to vacation and wages. And that's pretty much the upshot of the deal, and I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Councilwoman Littman?
I do have a question regarding the additional $106,575 that you indicated.
Sure.
That is for what period of time?
That is from the first pay in January of this year until now.
Okay, so that is going to be,
It's only compression.
so that's going to be due immediately?
Yes. And that's why they asked that I bring this forward as soon as possible so that we don't keep building up back pay.
And then I'll ask, is that part of your budget currently?
It is at this time, and I spoke to Debbie Friday, we believe that we are able to meet that with the budget right now. We don't believe that we will have to come back. She's still doing that figure, but as far as we know, yes, we will make budget this year.
Anyone else? Councilman Gray?
Thank you, Madam President. So we're going to take a vote on this evening, and I just want to clarify that if we vote yes, we are going to agree to the package, correct?
Yes.
And if we vote no, we are not accepting it. If we don't vote, we don't accept it as well. Is that correct?
Correct. And again, if there is no vote tonight, we are immediately going to have to petition to serve to go to binding arbitration. And again, that's where they pick one side or the other.
Councilman Lippman?
I'll ask, are the firefighters happy with this contract? Although it was somewhat of a compromise.
I mean, having been on both sides of the aisle, so to speak, it was very contentious. And at the end, I think we reached an agreement that was appealing to them because they voted 33-1 in favor of it. I think some of them, to be fair, just wanted to be finished. And I think many of them, and I think that we spoke the same way, we don't want someone outside the city to just pick one issue or the other and decide how we're going to operate for the next 2 years. If I might, there are a few ballpark estimates, in that figure. The top 4 firefighters, including myself, could retire next year. And if the 4 of us retire and 4 new individuals come in, the budget could be as much as $50,000 or $60,000 less. And so I tried to figure those out high, and I just did the best I could. I'm not sure what's going to happen with those. Additionally, we may go from 55 to 58 employees if we are able to just have a 13-man minimum because of the call volume, and reduce our overtime. We think that the overtime savings would be enough that would compensate for those things. I haven't figured all of that out yet. I'm really just trying to get this wage compression finished. If we were able to, I think that would be a good thing based on our call volume. But at this time, I think this is the best possible package we could get.
Councilman Gregg?
Chief, could you give us an idea of where this puts our firefighters relative to firefighters of other communities of similar size or nearby communities in terms of their wages?
We're much better in terms of where we were at the beginning. It's a little bit difficult to say because most of those contracts don't have 10 and 12 steps. So you're not waiting till year 30 to get to your top step. They have like 7, 8 steps. And we've really tried hard to get to that. And so I think we've gone a long way to being comparable. At the same time, when you talk about work weeks, for example, Jackson Township would be at a 52-hour work week, we're at 48. City of Canton is at a 50.6. They're really convoluted work weeks. Our folks do enjoy a work week of 48 hours, and Alliance, there are others in the county that enjoy that. And so it's a little bit difficult to compare apples to oranges, so to speak. But I think they're relatively pleased by virtue of the fact that it was 33-1. I think we should be pleased also because, faced with picking one side or the other and virtually $1 million 3-year contract, it seems as though this would be the best solution.
Councilman Lippman?
Will you confirm that the paramedics fall under this contract as well?
Absolutely. All of us are paramedics. We have fire-based EMS. We are all but one of us are paramedics at this time.
Anyone else? Councilman Harris?
So the bottom line difference between the 2 contracts is about $300,000, if I'm hearing you right?
407.
407 is compared with 725,000, yes.
So about 300,000.
If you were comparing what a 2% each of the 3 years is as compared with our compression, as compared with what the compression could be, if you look at the compression back to August of 2018, it's a little bit more than that. It goes to probably about 785,000, 790,000.
And what would be the immediate, so right now, if we accept this contract, the immediate cost of the city is
105,000.
105. What would be the immediate cost of the city If the other option was,
The immediate cost to the city would be, and again, I have to ballpark that because I'm not sure exactly where the compression would fall back from August of 2018. And I don't know if retirees would be included in that or they would not be included in that. So there, but it would seem as though it would be exponentially increased from about 260. And that's back from August of last year, if we compressed and had the 3% as.
how many were laid off during fiscal emergency?
During fiscal emergency, we laid 10 firefighters off, and we laid them off for a period of 3 months until we were able to get a grant. We secured that grant. We were able to return them all to work.
That's all right.
Anyone else?
Thank you all.
Seeing none, Councilman Gray?
There are no other questions or concerns. I make a motion that we waive the rules requiring 3 readings of this ordinance and bring ordinance number 137, 2019 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Sterrett. Roll call for suspension.
Harris,
No.
Irwin,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Manson,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Gray.
Yes.
7 yes, 1 no, 4 so that's for suspension. Yes, thank you.
And for passage.
Irwin,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Manson,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
and Harris.
No.
7 yes and 1 no for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 137, 2019 is passed. Councilman Manson.
Adjourned.
Second by Councilman Sterrett. Meeting adjourned.
All right, go right into the meeting.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Ready? Last Friday, the law director called me and asked,
Microphone, please.
law director called me and asked if we could go into executive session to discuss something, and I agreed with that. So, having said that, I make a motion that we enter into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22 G3 to discuss a matter involving the public body that is the subject of imminent court action.
Seconded by
Oh, it's mine, I'm sorry. We're all looking up at you, Claudia. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. All the council, council president, council clerk, law director Scazza, and I'm gonna ask the mayor to come in too, please, and Mr. Mayor.
don't we have to do a vote? You just say that. Are we in a roll call?
Was there a second? There was a second.
You want to do a roll call? Go ahead.
Well, we normally do.
Go ahead.
Okay. Who was it seconded by? Creamer,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Manson,
Yes.
and Starrett.
Yes.
8 yes to exit into executive session. Okay, we return to regular session. Gray,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Manson,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
and Cleaver.
Yes.
8 yes to exit executive session and enter back into work session.
Okay, we don't have a whole lot of new stuff. I have one left over from last week.
Microphone, please.
Economic Development Grant for G and D Fab Welding, 340 State Avenue Northwest, Massillon, Ohio. Owner Gordon Loader. Like I said, it's in the amount of $10,000. I went up and looked at the building. They weren't open when I was there. It's a nice brand new building. I'll try to get back when they're actually working. Are there any questions we need to answer? If not, there's no reason for it. I intend to move this forward. Okay. Next, is there anything on environmental?
I have nothing.
Health, welfare, building regulations?
Yes, thanks, Paul. I do have a couple of things. I would like to call a committee meeting. Ed and Jill, and of course all council members would be welcome as well. I'd like to try to set it either before our next meeting on the 21st, or the next meeting on the 21st, or the work session on the 28th. Two issues that I would like to discuss. As you know, our downtown streetscape is moving right along, and there are a lot of sidewalks that are going in. And not too long ago, we tabled indefinitely a fence ordinance. And I've been speaking with a few of the business owners who are looking to begin putting back up fences, and we don't want them to put up maybe something similar to what they had prior, if there's going to be an ordinance adjustment or change, or at least looking at that ordinance again going forward. The second issue I would like to discuss at that committee meeting that would fall under this committee would be a question regarding Airbnbs. Again, I'm walking door to door in the ward, as well as attending a lot of different community events, and the issue has come up numerous times. Our short-term rental ordinances, do the Airbnbs that are listed on Airbnb fall under the bed and breakfast ordinance? Do they fall under the short-term rental ordinance? There was a meeting a while back here, a week or so ago, where even the fire inspector, Mike Canfora, as well as a few others from building and Andrea as well, we looked at where should we go from here regarding the questions that I'm being asked from the residents. There are some concerns from a fire issue, as well as, is this something we want in our city at all? We've got them in the city. Some are registered, some are not registered. So that would be something that I'd like to have discussed again at that meeting. We do have some information that I'd like to provide to the committee members at least, but certainly all of council could receive the packet of information, just showing you again where our ordinances sit and what we may want to review prior to that meeting. So again, I guess I asked, do you want to meet prior to the 21st and or prior to the 28th, one work session, one a regular meeting? Joe?
It doesn't matter to me. What time are you looking at? Because I know, there's been meetings where we felt rushed
Yes.
getting to the meeting. So are you looking at?
Well, I'm happy to go 5:30. That gives us an hour prior to. I'd like to have Diane get the packet of information out to at least both of you, but certainly an email to all who would like to be present at that meeting. So you have that to review prior to, so we can have some meaningful discussion at that meeting. Ed, do you have a preference?
If we're going to do 5:30, I prefer the 28th.
Okay. Does 5:30 on the 28th work for you, Joe? Okay.
There's something else we could do if we don't get it done at the beginning. We could have a regular meeting and we could have something afterwards too if you need more time.
Okay, we may want to decide then, if
Yeah, you just
that would work. For now, we'll go with the 28th at 5:30 for a committee meeting of health, welfare, and building regulations, please. Thank you, that's all I have.
Got that, Diane?
Yes, sir. Microphone, please.
Okay, the next one is Parks and Rec.
I have nothing.
Okay, police and fire. Public utilities, Sarita's not here, and I don't believe there was anything on public utilities.
No, sir.
Rules and courts, Mike.
I have nothing.
Okay. Streets and highways.
I have a couple new ones tonight. These are just replats and dedications, all three of them. The first one here is the new allotment project on the north side of Hills and Dales, northeast, right after the split on the left there. The final subdivision plat for the allotment, City Planning Commission has already approved said plat for the subdivision, and the request does include a dedication of roadway area from outlot 685 in the extension of Mount Ridge Avenue. Dave, do you have any comment? Say anything you want to add to this? Looks like this was already approved. I know we have approved some other replat things for this allotment prior.
This is the final one, in which it would basically be R3 and 3, or there's 4 homes they're building on the top end, and then PUD, like townhomes on the top.
One little question here. They started like crazy on that up there, and then all of a sudden everything stopped.
I can't tell you the time frame, so I'm
Okay.
yeah, I don't know why they stopped,
Okay.
but I think they're looking to move forward again.
Linda?
I did attend the planning commission meeting regarding this as well, and I guess I just wanted to clarify, because I had asked the question at that meeting. The one PUD lot is actually condominium village that they will have there. And Jason, if I'm not correct, please correct me. Are there 4 buildings that will exist in that area, all of which will be condos? And then the only single family will be on the top side of that.
Outside of
And those will
4
all,
single family homes.
and it'll be around the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
Thank you. I guess that was a comment, not a question.
Have we seen the design of any of these houses, or what's the price range where they're going to be? Do you have any information?
I think based on the meeting, I think they're looking to sell the lots, possibly, not necessarily build the houses on the lots, sell the lots, and then I'm not sure what the price range of the villas or townhomes or whatever condos, I'm not sure what the price range are. I don't think they discussed that.
No, they will not be building, they will be selling the lots, and then the buyer of the lot will be able to choose their own builder.
Of the single-family homes?
Right.
Okay, on to the next one. This is dedication of storm sewer easement located on the east side of Millennium Boulevard and just after Phoenix Avenue. All already approved by the Planning Commission. Any questions on this one? Next one is dedication of road right-of-way for end easements, again at Westbrook Estates, Phase 5B and 5C. This is another expansion of the subdivision of Westbrook Estates, including the dedication of some more roadways, extension of Alpha and Brightleaf, and then new streets, Gabriel and Casey. There's an additional 50 lots planned on this one. Questions, concerns, Dave, do you want to speak on this one at all, anything? Okay. If you have nothing, that's fine. Any other concerns, questions? Linda?
I'm sorry, I'll just make another comment, only because I was there. I have also spoken with Bob Lockhart regarding some of the drainage issues that we had discussed previously. I have a meeting set with Bob Lockhart and one of the residents on Alpha, right next to where the 50 lots, the new lots begin. And we're going to be taking care of some of the, they're very minor issues, but minor concerns that this resident has. So Bob Lockhart's been very open and willing to make things right if the residents themselves are finding issue.
Thank you, Linda. All right, that is all the actual new legislation I have tonight. Obviously, we have a deadline meeting for the streetscapes downtown, so I was wondering if Mayor, if you have anything, any updates you'd like to add about the streetscape. I was down there on Friday and there was quite a bit of work going on, so I'd like to come up with Anybody?
I'll give you a quick update.
Absolutely, thank you.
Add to this. Yeah, everything's moving along as planned. Our current trajectory, weather pending, still gets us to the end of October for completion. So our fingers are crossed that the weather cooperates and the contractor can keep his schedule. I can give you a quick synopsis of what they're going to do this week, or we can just answer any specific questions.
Why don't we start with the synopsis and then we'll go to questions.
Okay. Well, maybe just see if I can translate my scribbles I wrote this morning. Today, they were working on the curb returns at Erie Street and doing some sidewalk on the south side of Lincoln Way. Tomorrow, they're going to continue the sidewalk and they're going to, the driveway to Chase Bank tomorrow evening will be closed because they're going to do the sidewalk in front of the apron. And that will remain closed until Thursday morning. It's going to take all Wednesday to cure. So Thursday morning, the bank will have access to its ATM card, the parking lot inside there. Thursday and Friday, they're going to begin the road base for Lincoln Way. That's a concrete base. So after Friday, there should be no more dirt exposed on site. So that's good. And the base intersection and the next intersection will start to take shape grading, and the headers for the brick at Erie Street will start Friday.
And obviously the first and the brick took quite a long time to lay. So
We have been working diligently with Central Allied and Enviroscapes on cooperating to make sure that they can speed up their process, get double crews, work Saturdays, Sundays, whatever we can. If we think that, if Central Allied believes that it will be done except for the M, then we'll be on Enviroscapes and Central Allied to try to work something out to speed them up, if that's the case.
questions, Mr. Moore?
Just wanted to know, you speak to calls I got about a drainage line or a sewer line that allegedly collapsed or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah, there was at the end of last week, we've discovered a clay sewer tile that was collapsed. We think it was during the gas line construction. It wasn't anything they did. They didn't punch the line. I think that once the road was taken away, the cover on the storm sewer significantly decreases, and it's just the movement of vehicles. Collapsed line, we did not find it until the middle of last week, but the engineering department worked pretty diligently, and we got a solution immediately. Worked with Central, I got great prices on the fix. We had the money available in the budget for things that, just like this, that come up contingencies, and it's been repaired and hasn't delayed the project at all.
We should bring up another point. So as far as finances are concerned, we still have all the money to continue to work on the project. So that's another rumor that's going out there, is that we've run out of money, so we can't do things.
Yeah, no.
I just wanted to make sure.
Believe me, yeah, no, we're not.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions? Claudia?
The brick M, is it laid down the same as 4th Street's laid down?
Please, me not a second, please.
First Street.
First.
4th Street, the brick road.
Geez, I don't know what the build-up of 4th Street is, but this, yeah, I can't answer it. This, the
It's kind of bumpy.
I know, and it's been there years, and it all depends on the groundwater in there, and years of making it bumpy. What we have now is concrete with an asphalt adhesion, then brick, the sand in between. So this is way more stable. I can't vouch for how 4th Street was constructed. Unfortunately, I don't know how to build it, but yeah, time will be that on 4th Street.
Jill?
You mentioned concrete base. So is that the material that the street is going, that you're going to use on the street?
It will be asphalt street, but there's a concrete, it's going to be 4 inches of asphalt on top of 10 inches of concrete, which is a very strong building for Lincoln Way. Yes, the base of the base, yes, is concrete, but it will not be a concrete top.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you for your update. I have nothing further issues and notes.
Okay, moving on to finance.
Yes, the first piece we have is please prepare legislation to appropriate from the unappropriated balance for the foreclosure property administration fund. It's $15,000. This is for the tear down of a house that was destroyed in a fire. The property is uninsured, and the real estate taxes will be assessed for this cost. Is there any discussion? And I'll go ahead and sign it. It does have emergency language on it, so we need to start. I'm assuming they want to get it before the weather starts to turn. The next one's coming out of the municipal court. They want to take $18,000 and have it in the driver alcohol treatment fund. And this is to pay for treatment of the indigent drivers. And these are all part of the fees that the courts collect, and everybody uses for such purposes as this. The last piece that is here, as far as legislation or resolutions is concerned, please prepare a resolution accepting the amounts and rates determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor by October 31st. So this is something we would have to move quickly on. We only have one more voting session before the deadline of October 31st. We did not receive this information from the county until it looks like 10/9. So they have us in that time crunch. But all this is something we do every year, justifying why we have the levies that we do and how they are distributed.
Can I ask a question?
Yes?
I'm sorry to go back, but I have in my records that police and fire had an ordinance 126 that was still open from a prior meeting. Is that-
You're talking about the reallocation of personnel.
We might finish finance before we go to that, please.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure my records were correct. Thank you.
And then we have two transfers. One is coming from the street lighting services. They're reducing that by $18,035. And this is to fund additional or fund lighting of the municipal parking lot. Are there any questions on this piece? Ms. Creamer?
Is this additional lighting, or what is this exactly?
Someone from the administration?
This is for the parking lot on North and Erie. We are trying to upgrade the parking lot. Currently, there is no lighting there. So we have Ocean Clark, got two quotes. We asked for three, one to submit. We got Ocean Clark to win Noah Trench. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that lot. Medium. We'll take all that up and then put underground conduit and stick out two poles with dual heads on LED lighting. And then I think our intention next year is possibly to pave that, go up the street department, kind of fix that hole temporarily, and then next spring hopefully pave it. We are seeing development off the street, Fremont Coffee, and some other businesses want to up in that area. We're trying to provide parking for this and lighting. We also, I think you've seen municipal parking lot projects. We also are getting it close for parking lot across from the beer bank there. Post office area, we own all gravel. The one area is pretty much where you go in, it's all gravel, but we did acquire additional space there. If you remember that we got into donated a lot there. So we are looking to maybe do some upgrade to lighting. We don't believe there's any lighting in that area either. So eventually some lighting there and maybe paving that too, possibly next year.
Mr. Gray?
I'd like to make the suggestion that if we're going to be running electric to these lots, that we add electrical charging stations for electrical cars, at least one in the lot, once the lots are paved and brick and that type of thing. But I think it'd be a big thing for the city to have that, be able to, talk about the fact that we've got that, and we're, aggressive enough to add those types of stations, because that's going to be something that's just going to be more and more as time goes on.
And I did talk, and I did have a conversation with Bob Gessers has one in his lot right back there that I think anybody can use if you have some type of charging. I'm not sure how the overlay accounts work with that, but it is a legitimate suggestion you probably should look at.
All right, my next transfer is our own. We would be taking $120 out of travel, seminar, and school, and putting it in the council clerk. And this is to realign our budget due to step increase that was effective 9/30/19 for our council clerk. That is it. I do have one hold that would go along with the economic development grant, but we'll just keep that in lockstep with that community.
You have two old.
The other two are about the card quotes.
Oh, yeah, on the bathrooms and whatnot. So, thank you for that. So it was brought to my attention, and I tried to speak to a couple of you about this. They are starting to work on the doors. And it was stated to me by people, close to the project, saying that their concern is that we make the doors ADA, but not the bathrooms at this time. What's the point? So I'll put that up in conversation this evening, because that's obviously something we have to vote on Monday. See where you guys are standing in that. This is the legislation where we'd be approving $50,000, I believe it is, to redo the bathrooms in this building. One set of bathrooms in this building, and one set of bathrooms over in the police department's building, according to Picard's drawings, and make them ADA compliant. Is there?
I said it the last time when we talked about the doors, and I think this building is probably one of the most frequented buildings by our citizens. It's open every single day with hundreds of people in and out every single day, so I don't think it's something that we should really be dragging our feet on. It's something that was brought to our attention and we need to rectify. I think it's probably something we should be rectifying as soon as possible. I understand, money saving and seeing if we could wrap it into the Duncan file. We're always looking at ways to save money, but I think when it comes to ADA compliance and the amount of individuals in and out of this building, I think sooner the better.
Mr. Mason?
The only question I have, is there anything that would change what we need? I don't see anything changing to you as far as the doors.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That'd be, if there's, if we were gonna do something and it was maybe to be wrong, I agree, but if not, I think we should move ahead on it.
I would echo Ms. Barrett. I think we should get this done as quickly as possible. We do have quite a few people using the building, and once it has been brought to our attention, we need to remedy it as quickly as possible.
And to be clear, we're talking about the bathrooms up here, correct? And the ones downstairs across the board.
We have two different ordinances.
Just
First floor of the police department.
First floor of the police department.
Second floor is here.
Right.
I believe, yes.
Madam Mayor, would you report?
Barb and Frank have been handling most of this, but I believe it's just the first floor in the police department. Because we don't want to do it on the second floor, because then that person that's ADA, that needs, they would have to come to the elevator. So it should be the first floor in the police department.
But I had a question, because when I asked specifically what restrooms were going to be done, and I believe they stated the first floor, they couldn't do something based on the structure.
Is that what she said?
Yeah, I can't
Maybe
recall
I'm mistaken.
specifically, but we're still doing two.
Correct.
One in this
In the
building,
police
and one in
department.
the police department.
That's correct.
My records show two different ordinances, ordinance 135 and 136. And 135 indicates the acceptance of the proposal for Mr. Picard that would indicate the doors as well as second ordinance was the 50,000 that you alluded to previously, and that was just an estimate based on the second floor, and that would have to be the bump out as well. She had indicated that there had to be significantly more structural change that would have to take place up here, and that falls under ordinance 136.
I think the bump out would have to be, I think they were saying, maybe to clarify next week, because the bump out would have to be the bathrooms downstairs. Because over here, there's quite a bit of room downstairs. They're right up against all the departments. So I thought they said the first floor was the concern about the bump out and actually losing office space for whatever office is next to the bathrooms down there. But up here, because I remember the comment being made that as long as the elevators are in service, there would be no issues to get up here to the ADA bathrooms.
So yeah, obviously we just need some clarification of what exactly the project entails. You know, and I think some of the hesitation was, you know, I don't all the ADA, but I do know that in the men's room here, we do have one stall that is larger, which is typical to see, so that someone has wheelchair accessibility and things of that nature. So a little bit more discussion at what exactly is happening, so we don't have this confusion. Where are we failing at? Might help also make it easier for us to speak to this to the public fast. You know, where have we fallen short, so we can have that conversation. So just remember that.
Barb has been working on the project, and she has the information, and she'll be back on Monday. So we'll clarify all of those things for you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have anything?
Yeah, I can go over that one ordinance that,
Oh, sorry.
Linda approved. Linda was referring to ordinance 126. It repeals the existing section of ordinance 126 from 1977. There's several issues with this ordinance. One being that we're not sure if the 1977 ordinance is the actual one we need to be repealing. Madam Law Director, do you have any updates on that? Sure.
I was working with Diane on this in pulling the ordinance from, pulling 126/1977, which I believe everyone has. My concern, and I know the chief is here tonight, if you look at 126/1977, the number that has, and it's not necessarily the chief, captain, lieutenants, or sergeants that I wanted some clarification that I spoke to Councilman Harris about last week. It had to do with the patrol officers, the number associated with that, because again, if you look at 126/1977, back then it was listed as 50. This ordinance has been amended, obviously, throughout the years. And the most recent being that I can recall was back in 2015 when the number was changed to 44. So I guess my concern to Councilman Harris was, I know that the chief's intention was the restructuring of those other positions, but I just wanted to make sure the number with regard to the police officers was consistent with the amendments that have been made recently. Does that make any sense, everybody? So if that number is still 44, I would just suggest that we amend. And again, that's just my suggestion. I don't know if that was the intention with the legislation that was brought forward, but again, I just didn't want to see the restructuring happen, but then the number of patrol officers inadvertently be amended or tweaked if that wasn't the intent of everybody. Does that make any sense?
Additionally, I learned that Mayor is running down or doing some legwork on with the Stark County Sheriff in regards to the dog warden issue and animal control officer. Madam Mayor, can I have questions about that? You had said in one of the candidate forums that you had been running down some info with the Stark County Sheriffs and had a meeting with them.
I have, yes. That meeting just occurred, and let me pull up my notes here. Wait, I'm going to find something you can't. Just give me 1 second. Well, in essence, if I can try to recall everything we talked about, here it is. All the sheriff deputies are trained in how to take a dog call. So whether they're attacking, whether they're a nuisance, all the sheriff deputies have been trained on that. So I thought that was important to understand. All the officers at the Sheriff's Department can also write tickets. So if the dog is off a leash, those are some of the things we were talking about as leash laws. We do have those here in Massillon, and his officers can write tickets on that. And it's all under ORC 915, so if you want to take a minute to look that up, you're welcome to. So what he said was that we can also train our officers on how to take those dog calls, and that he would be happy to come and talk with you all about the dog warden and and I think that would probably be the best case scenario, that he come and share with all of you about what the duties of the dog warden can be throughout the entire county. He did also share with me that the Sheriff's Department gave our police department a cage for any type of dog that they need to catch. So if a dog has bitten someone, there's a dog running loose, and that they would transport that dog to the dog pound. So I thought it was very enlightening, and I think that we should bring him here to be able to share with all of you the information that, since he is now over the dog warden at this time.
So there's no dog warden specific deputies assigned to a district per se. It's just merely any deputy.
The deputies are all trained, but there are also dog wardens.
And they are specifically only dogs, no nuisance animals, no.
When we have a problem with raccoons, or we talk with our health department to try to see if they can maybe set a cage for raccoons, but I don't believe that they do anything else but dogs. I don't think they take cats. So
I have a question.
But those are the questions that the sheriff can answer for you.
Did he share the number of calls that they received from the Massillon area for dog issues?
He did not, but I did not request the log, and that's something we can request when he comes to talk with council.
Yeah, with that, also the response time, like when they arrived, from the time they got that call, when they arrived in Massillon to address that issue. I would like to see that.
Anyone else?
I have a few issues. This past week, people complained about the cats, and I spoke with the sheriff's department last week, and they do not retain the cats. And we're having an issue, major issue. And this lady called me, she's got like 8, 9 cats living next door to her, coming in her yard, burying holes in their flower beds.
We had that earlier in another part of town, Dave, and we had to have them go out, and what the neighbor was doing was actually feeding these cats. And so then they would use the neighbor's yard as a restroom, and it's very frustrating, the odor, and so we had to go out and have our code enforcement tell her she can no longer feed those cats. because it's not only her yard, but it's the neighbor's yards.
No, the health department, like, trapping,
The health department will go out and talk with them because it becomes a health hazard.
I'll make that call tomorrow and let her know what to do on that.
All right, thanks.
So, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
does that mean that you are in favor of a nuisance animal control officer per se?
You know what, I think we still need to do the research. I think the sheriff needs to come and share with you what training they offered, what the dog warden actually does. I think we still need to do a little more research before. I am in favor if we cannot handle the problems. There are leash laws, so we have laws that we need to enforce that are already on the books. And I think that's one step that we need to take in our city. But if it comes down to that the sheriff's department cannot help us, I already said on record that I would support a part-time person. Now we have to buy the van, we have to buy the kit, there's all those things that we have to purchase, but I've already stated that I would be in favor of that. But I think we still need research. I don't think we're done yet. So I think that we have to continue to research the topic.
Go ahead.
I just say that since I had an issue in my ward recently with vicious dog situation, I like to be kept in the loop with what's being done as far as inviting the sheriff's office in. And I had made a decision, I mentioned it to Chief Moser at that time, perhaps we could also have a representative either from the police department or the law department to talk about what are the laws that are on our books and what can our police officers can and cannot, what they can and cannot do in various situations involving animals. So I would just make that suggestion that we add them and also keep me in the loop on what's going on there so I can keep my people in my ward informed.
That'd be great. And we can shoot out the ORC to all of you if you like on that topic, so you can read it over. But we do have leash laws here in Massillon, and I can maybe ask Diane to share those with you all as well, so you can read it for yourself.
Anybody else have anything for the mayor? Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.
Chief Moser, can I have you come up and talk about something for a second? Evening, Chief. Do you have any sort of input on this as far as whether we should cross-train all officers in regards to dog warden responsibilities, or whether we need a specifically trained nuisance animal control officer and let the sheriff's office handle the dog warden calls?
Well,
And if that should be added to this personnel application?
there's a lot involved in that question because there's a lot that our officers can do. Okay, we have police laws, they can write tickets for that. They can do that kind of stuff. But when it comes to actually trying to corral a vicious dog and get them into a cage or take them off the street, they are not trained nor equipped to be able to do that. So, like I said, there are some things that we can do and some things that we can't do. I'm not going to put our officers out, have them try to take control of a vicious dog and take the risk of them getting hurt in doing so without proper equipment.
I hate to put you on the spot, but I haven't had a chance to talk with you in like a meeting per se about this, but I thought I'd just get your input on it.
Yes, I guess I'm kind of on the same lines with the mayor. I think we need to do a little more research to know exactly what the sheriff's department, the dog wardens would be willing or would be able to do.
As far as the dogs or as far as the nuisance animals?
As far as the dogs. As far as the nuisance animals, again, there's a lot that goes into that. It would be,
You're talking about trapping and...
Yes,
Right.
and yes, you would almost have to have someone be that be their full-time job, because if you put out all these traps, you're gonna have to check them regularly to make sure that if something is caught in a trap, that they're taken care of. You don't want to come back a week later and have a dead animal in the trap. It's not going to look good all the way around. So yeah, you're going to need someone to really keep up on that if we're doing nuisance.
So in researching this, do you want to just take this a second reading next week?
Yes, I want to take it to second reading. The whole point in what I was trying to bring forward, whether it's what actually came forward, was just to eliminate the one position, not to eliminate the number of officers. I wanted to keep that the same, but just to eliminate the one position, that we can reallocate those resources somewhere else.
So in the one position is the captain's position, correct?
Correct.
And in reallocating that position, are we adding another patrolman? Are we adding another sergeant? What do we have?
Part two to this, which we would have to get with the unions about, would be to remove the lieutenant, cut back from 4 down to 3 lieutenants, add 2 sergeants. That way we could have supervision spread across our patrol, our detective bureau, and our support divisions more equally. So actually, patrolmen would stay the same. But again, that's kind of a part 2 too.
And then before, when we had a animal control officer, she was assigned to the PD, correct?
I believe so. She was an auxiliary
Okay.
officer.
And then, did that fall under this allocation of personnel? Did we allocate for a animal control officer, or did we include her as something else?
I don't believe it was really covered back then, because back when she was here, we didn't have the 44 minimum staffing. I'm not sure. I think we still had the 50 that was with the original language. So I don't know if she was actually counted towards that or not.
Mr. Harris, I'm not even sure she was a member of the union either, was she? She outside of the union, you understand?
Being an auxiliary, she was probably not part of the FOP. She was part of the social unit, social option.
Would you be in favor of including an allocation for that in this allocation of personnel, or would you rather have it as a?
Well, if anything, I would want it in addition to, because
Sure.
the 44 is bare minimum.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying in the allocation of captains, lieutenants, sergeants, patrolmen, would you rather have a section for one animal control officer?
I don't know that it really matters to me personally. I would work either way with that.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Could you comment as to whether the current budget would allow for the purchase of a van, the equipment, any training, and the personnel that Mr. Harris is speaking of? Or would you need to have additional funds allocated for that purpose?
We do have some funds within our budget that we probably could transfer to make those purchases and do that training this year. So, quick answer, I believe yes, our budget could sustain that.
As well as the purchase of a van?
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike.
Regarding the nuisance animals, there are plenty of individuals and companies, businesses that handle that. I certainly would be suggesting we would outsource to those individuals as opposed to trying to train and equip our police officers to handle something like that.
Nuisance animals, meaning cats as well.
Yes, meaning anything but dogs.
At one point in time, did we not increase the police officers from 44 to 48 under Myron?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but I can't find the ordinance where we did that. Because 2 of them went to the high school. Am I correct? Or one went to the high school, or one went to the middle school.
I wasn't sure if that was actually legislated or that was something that the mayor allowed us to increase. Yes, I'm not sure if that was actually ordinance or not. I was under the understanding that it was just the mayor allowing us to be above our minimum because those extra positions weren't patrol related or directly within the police department.
So the way we've always operated it since Mr. Chauvin took on that initiative is the goal to get to 48. The contract by the union, I believe, has us at 44, is that correct? Something like that, or the two things different?
It's not in the contract.
It's not in the contract. I thought it was 48 too, it says 44.
Well, that says, it doesn't look right on the front, but this is in the middle. So maybe 48 was always the target.
Oh, okay.
Did we always budget for 48, and then our minimum was 44? I know we did have that 48 conversation.
I believe the number was 44, where Milo took it.
Legislation is 44.
Yes, but what the chief and I have talked over and over for many years, and we were trying to get someone to go on Metro. And so I shared with him that I would approve additional member if we could get someone on the Metro.
Where did we get 48 from?
I don't know.
It's sticking in my mind.
How many officers do we have? I'm sorry, I just totally hijacked this. How many officers do we have right now?
We currently have 45,
Okay.
and we have a conditional officer 1 who will be starting in late November, early December, to bring us up to 46.
Did we ever have 48?
We haven't been up there yet.
You know what I think I'm thinking of is when Myron proposed that, it was that we were at a certain number of officers within 18 months.
Yeah, well, yeah, it says if the
Was it 48?
It says get to 44 within the 18 months of passing of this ordinance. So, I'm blaming it on Diane. She came up with 48.
Well, you must remember it too, because it's sticking in my mind. And another question, Chief, do you want 44 patrol officers listed on here, on this new legislation we're introducing?
I was under the understanding because they were separate ordinances, that we could keep the total number on one and the supervisory staff numbers on the second, and the number of patrolmen would just fill in the extras.
Is that all you have, Danny?
Yes, sir, thank you.
You're all set, Chief.
Thank you.
Hey, Claudia, you had something?
Saturday night, my husband and I went to Jen's place for an apple pie beer, and then we went over to Smiley's, and the wait was really long. I mean, they were jam-packed. And I asked her, you know, has it been like this? She said, since the sidewalks came in, she says, our customers have come back. It really was nice, and it was really crowded.
Anybody else? Anybody out here has any comments or questions?
James Honeston, 2443 Wittenberg Avenue Southeast, and a lot of conversation still going on about the hospital and the VA, and I was kind of looking at it. I was under the impression as a citizen that we were looking for someone to buy that and take that burden off the taxpayers potentially in the future. I know one thing, I know I don't understand how government funding works according to one person in this room, and I don't have the experience, but I do understand income expense And I understand when you sell off an asset, that's a one-time income. And there's no more income coming from that asset. You do not have the use of it anymore. So if we continue to just do that, we're not really gaining financially. What came with it, and council, what I'm curious about, is now this thing, lease, is the word I'm concerned about. Lease by the VA, and I'm asking the council the information. If we're going to lease, are we prepared as a city to become landlords? Do we want another business venture? Because I understand that Wednesday, the VA was there deciding how much space they wanted to use. That means on, what is that, a 200,000 square foot facility or something along those lines, rather large. Are we going to be the landlords for other people? Have we decided what the cost is per square foot? Have we decided what we're going to charge per square foot? Do we know what the CAM is going to be? And if the VA is going to be able to pay the CAM. Now, we don't know the deal yet, but the big question is, are we going to take on another business venture as a city? Because we will become a landlord. We already have a golf course, and despite what's being said, $178,000 ahead this year is still not a profit. You have to consider the debt that is being subsidized by the taxpayers. We have a recreation center. The debt is being subsidized by the taxpayers. We cannot say those are operating at a profit. So is the city willing to take on this as another business venture? Because in the long term, we cannot afford to run another business at a loss. And that, as a citizen, is my concern, and that is addressing directly to council. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Well, first thing I'd like to say is I congratulate council for your fortitude on taking on the hospital. We just finished the auction, and we'll have some numbers that we can share with you tomorrow. We're tallying those, but I can share with you we're going to be $1 million plus ahead. And so I'd like to congratulate all of you. It may be even larger than $1 million plus, but with the sale of the buildings that we acquired, and with the auction, and with the $2 million that Altman is giving us, we've made a strong decision, and you did very well for the residents of Massillon.
Anybody else have a question? Aaron, sign in after you.
Hi guys, my name is Brooks Nichols, 1205 16th Street, Southeast Massillon, Ohio. I got a question. Maybe this is off topic. How much has we profited off that golf course? Anybody can answer? Anybody know how much we profited off that golf course? Well, my next question is, are we profiting off that golf course? Okay, that's an answer. So if we're not profiting off the golf course, because somebody had, I got one more question. Why aren't we paying for it? Why is it bad? Because the traditional fourth ward doesn't utilize it. Only the privileged in the fourth ward utilizes it. Nobody don't have no numbers on it? So we're paying for a golf course and we don't have numbers on it. Nobody know how much you made this year.
I think you'd want to speak with somebody with the Parks and Rec department. I mean, we don't have anybody here from the Parks and Rec department.
Ain't Jill from Parks and Rec?
Jill's on Parks and Rec.
I am the Park and Rec chairperson,
Oh,
but I do not have my numbers and figures here tonight. So that's something that you can attend the meeting, and they review that on a monthly basis.
good. I'm just wondering, was it?
Mr. Mason, is the intent of this for us to answer, or is it like a regular session where we do not answer?
If we can answer easily, we will. Other than that,
Well, then I guess the general answer to those three questions presented before City Council is no. Golf course has never made a profit due to the $500,000 debt payment that it makes. It covers operations, but does not cover its debt. Why are we in it? Is because it was built on a bond issue back in the 90s. We are not able to get out of that bond issue. So therefore, we are stuck making those payments. ordinance unless other options of selling it would be observed. We've looked at options of selling it, and none of them have come to fruition. So until something like that happens, we continue to make the payments. You could also look at it as an economic development feature in which you take the golf course and realize that over 400 homes and 500 businesses have developed around that golf course, contributing taxpayer dollars to that. And we can't capture how much that's really been, but there is money coming in that regard. Does that answer the questions?
Kind of, not really. But listen, let's just say, I'm stupid.
Sorry, you said kind of not really, but
Not really, it doesn't answer my question. My question is this, I'm not that smart. Let's just say I'm not that smart. Did it make a profit? It hasn't made a profit, is what you said.
absolutely, yes.
We have not made a profit. So why don't we just sell it? And once we sell it, then pay off the back balance. Because by being there, we're not paying none of the debt with it.
Well, it's more complex. First off, we cannot sell it for the amount that is owed in the past. This has been a few years ago. Secondly, it is a bond issue. It's not a mortgage. You cannot early pay off.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't understand that. So what you're saying is we can't sell it.
I'm not saying we can't sell it. We just can't early pay off. So when you have like a car note,
Right.
most of us familiar with that. You sell your car, the money you get from that sale, you can go take to the bank. Because that
Right.
car note is directly tied to that car as collateral. The debt we have related to the golf course isn't collateral for. We just owe it on the full faith of the government. So it's slightly different. So you could sell the golf course, but still have your debt that you have to pay for.
So if we sold the golf course, couldn't we take the money from the golf course and put it towards the debt?
And that's growth type account we could, yes.
We could do that. And then make the rest of the payments that we've been making anyways, because it doesn't make any money.
If we generate enough,
Well,
off the sale, if we generate enough off the sale. we could.
Well, basically, what I'm trying to understand is you already said that we don't make enough money to cover the debt on that golf course. So that golf course just basically takes care of itself, right?
The operation, yes.
The operations. How about we just shut down all operations on the golf course, sell the golf course, and pay the mortgage what's left, which we've been paying anyways, because the only money that's being made is me. But I'm not this far.
I'm just trying to answer the questions so that you leave with some answers, that's all.
I just want to make this clear. So the golf course does not pay its own debt.
Not all of it, no.
Not
from what I've seen.
One more comment on that.
Wait.
Neither does our rec center.
Neither the rec center?
No.
Well, me personally, serving like a golf course, I think the rec center is robbing the community. Because not only do we pay for it with our taxes, maybe I'm misinformed, do we pay for it with our taxes?
Yes.
And then we got to turn around and pay to go there. To me, that's robbing the community. To me, that's actually misinforming the community because we didn't know that. So you're telling me we double pay for the rec center?
We pay for the real estate. Okay? Just like we do the golf course, we pay for the rec center. There are very few recreation things that you make any money off of in the city.
I understand.
Parks, all we do is pay to maintain them. So we mow them, we trim trees, we keep them safe, and they cost us money. That's why we handle parks.
I totally understand. I'm just simply asking,
Okay.
do my money go towards the rec center?
Part of it, yes.
Okay, so if my money goes towards it, does that make every citizen partial owner? Like we come together as a city?
Well, the city owns it.
Right, it's a city. We are the city, right? We come together. So why do we have to pay again to go inside the rec center?
To help pay for it.
To help pay for what?
To help pay for it.
We are helping pay for it every time we get our tax bills.
Mm-hmm.
So we double help it.
That's what you want to say, I guess.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, you want to talk to me?
Yeah, I just said, the way I look at it is that we, as a community, use our taxes to pay for the rec center to have an asset to the city, But I don't have a problem with the people that actually use the rec center having to pay to use the rec center because usage fee. So I don't use the rec center, so yeah, I'm okay with my taxes being used to provide that asset so that people in the city that do want to use it can. But if you're going to use it, I don't see why you shouldn't pay a nominal charge to use it. Because if we were to spread the cost out among everybody so that nobody paid, then I'd be paying more in taxes. And I don't want to. I'm not using it, so I wouldn't want to pay more. You see what I'm saying? So you pay one way or the other. In my opinion, it's better to have everybody have the cost to have that as an asset, but then if the ones that actually want to use it, pay a little more to use it.
But what about the ones that don't want to use it and don't want to pay for it?
Well,
We don't have no
that's what we, as a city, we have an app,
Right, basically the people that don't want to use it and don't want to pay for it doesn't have a choice.
Right,
Right.
you're right.
That's true.
I don't use it.
Well, I'm just saying, he said that you pay for it, but have chosen not to use it. So if you're not using it, you're still forced to pay for it?
No, my taxes pay to have it as an asset, but I don't go there, so I don't pay for it that way.
That's not what he told me. He said that we pay for it with our taxes. Am I right?
Exactly. I said that as well.
No, he said he don't directly pay for it, but you do by your taxes.
I said that. I use my taxes as everybody else does to have that as an asset for the city. All right? So I pay a minimal amount in taxes. If my taxes were to go to pay the cost of a membership, my taxes obviously would be much higher. I don't want that. I want just, I'm happy to be part of the community, to have that as an asset, to have that as a benefit for the city. But I don't personally use it, so I'm not going to pay any addition to use it. But I feel the ones that do use it should pay a little more to use it. And that's how the membership comes in. That's where the membership comes in.
Mr. Hanson, I recommend we assist him in getting in touch with Mr. Pedro, who could break down the numbers and processes that relate to this as director of the parks.
Well, like I said, I'm not really that smart when it comes to politics.
That's got nothing to do with it.
Well, I'm saying
We have a lot of assets. Our rec center's an asset, our golf course is an asset, our park's an asset.
Right.
And that's what our park levy is for, to help pay for it.
Do we got a lot of debt though?
We don't have an extreme amount of debt.
I don't know what that means. What's our debt number? Well, how much debt do we
I don't
have?
know exactly.
We don't know how much debt?
No, we can get that.
Okay. That's
And it'll be eliminated in 2031, I believe.
2031, the park,
2031, the golf course
will be paid.
and the rec center will be paid off.
The golf course we paid off in 2031?
Correct.
It's a long time. How long have we been paying for it? Since 92? 97? How long have we?
96.
96. Okay. But thank you guys, that's all I'm going to
Jump in real quick here.
Brooke, make sure you sign your name and address on the sign-in sheet, please. Thank you.
And I would ask you guys to maybe consider, when anybody's coming up here, in addition to saying they're a citizen, that they're running for office, because they're using this as a platform to promote their agendas. Thank you.
Okay,